Happy Sunday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Awaken the World. We present Awaken Sunday Live. Today, a discussion on our conscious evolution, walking the path. It is Sunday, October 7th, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is so nice to see you all here. Hello, Jennifer. Jennifer, how did you enjoy the meditation this morning? I am curious. For myself, I literally had to pull myself back from the brink of falling into a state of total divine ecstasy and connectivity, and it was like throwing yourself over a cliff and then reaching out and grabbing the rope at the last second. So I am curious, and welcome to everyone, and welcome to, especially if you're choosing to take part in the challenge. I now have, as promised, the YouTube channel, the Help Awaken channel, fully up to date up until, last night's, of course. This morning we did on the Help Awaken channel, so it's already there. And they are all there under a playlist entitled Awaken October Challenge. Oh, wonderful, Jennifer. I'm glad. It means the world to me to be able to invite people to participate in exploring ourselves, in growing ourselves. And this is really what it's all about. There's a lot of people who get really tied up in the idea of, well, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And you're really here to walk a path. And it is a path in an amusement park. It's meant to be a lot of fun. And it is only through the lifelong programming and sleepy behavior that the journey that begins out so joyfully in our childhood begins to get bitter in some way. We become jaded. There is, with the conscious mind, with the ego mind, that sense of self, the false sense of self, there is this hidden, not talked about, not referenced, but always there, worry that perhaps it's all for naught. And it doesn't matter how many people return from near-death experiences. It doesn't matter how wondrous the event. Deep inside of so many people, there is this tiny nagging doubt that it is all meaningless. And this manifests itself in many, many ways in our existence, and oftentimes in our awakening, we are forced to face the meaninglessness, the apparent meaninglessness of our journey up until the point where we actually become consciously aware. And as I've said to Kelly time and time again, every moment, every step of your life has been specifically engineered by you, not the fine details, but the goal, the mission, and the important points, the important acts in the play were all carefully laid out in order to bring the level of consciousness that you came into the world with up another notch, to evolve it to another new level. Yes, it is true, more and more people are waking up. But do not assume that you're becoming consciously self-aware of something deeper, something beyond that voice in your head is not it is literally a cosmic celebration every time another being becomes aware they are more than what they are. This is the evolution of not only us as so-called individuals, it is the evolution of our species. It is the evolution of every species throughout the cosmos. The glorious macrocosm of that sea of consciousness smashing itself into an untold number of shards, manifesting into a 3D world, a physical reality, a relative universe. Every single particle, molecule, atom, drop infused with that consciousness. Every planet consciously aware. Every plant, every creature possessing a level of consciousness in which the creator, that sea of consciousness, is able to view itself, its own creation. Not on one level, not on 1,000 levels, not in one dimension, but on every level, in every dimension. You are a one-of-a-kind part of this glorious thing that we would call life. You have never been here before in this way, and you will never return here again in this same way. Since the birth of time until the death of all of creation, another you will never exist. The same is true of each of God's creations, each of the manifestations of that sea of consciousness. Even plants, we see a forest full of trees, and it's easy to look at all those trees and think, well, that is a forest of fir. But look closer at each tree. Each tree is unique. Each tree is an individuated expression of the larger whole of the forest. Now, interestingly enough, and it is a fantastic analogy, we can think of ourselves as that tree and forest. Here I am, rooted in my chair, my branches spreading out to reach to the corners of my domain in my house. A feeling of individuality, or perhaps a lack of connectedness in my unconsciousness. Hello, Debbie. 1 o'clock. Okay, so it's not that late there. It's like 9 p.m., right? Nice to see you again. And Debbie, I'm curious. I believe you were there. Well, yeah, I know you were there this morning for the meditation. And I'm not fishing for compliments. I want your honest opinion whether this morning's meditation helped you in any way. Did it benefit you? Did you feel a growing sense of light within your being? I am curious. So when we look closer underneath that tree in the forest, when we look at the forest floor and we gently scrape away the collected debris and material, we find that indeed Mother Nature had the internet long before we ever developed it. We find a network of not only roots, but of mycelium. A network of fungi that spreads throughout the entire forest floor. A superhighway for the passing of information, connectivity, connecting each tree together. The one tree looks like one tree. The forest looks like a forest full of singular trees, but just beyond your vision, there is only one one interlinked, interwoven, interconnected whole, manifesting itself out in unique expressions. How fitting. That's just like us. And Debbie says she's still awake. Kelly and I aren't really that awake this afternoon. And I'm glad the meditations benefit. You know, that's really the point. And you know, like I said this morning, I literally, if I'm not careful, I can fall right into that complete state of oneness, and you literally experience what's known as the ecstatic state of connectedness, of oneness. And in that you become totally useless. And that's exactly it, Debbie. If you know, we tend to struggle, and the idea really is to let go of the struggle. That connection is there, and it really isn't a case of the connection coming. It's simply a case of you stepping out of the way, allowing yourself to experience it. And it starts with all the things that we've talked about all week, you know, and we're going to work our way through this week, because this is beneficial not only to, you know, those of us who are doing the October challenge, but anyone at any time. You can't fall off the path. You know, and Kelly would tell you firsthand that she spent so many years of her life in a state of perpetual fear that somehow what she was doing was not the right thing, that God was not happy with her, that she wasn't doing the exact thing He wanted her to do. What a joy to find out that God doesn't give a crap. That sea of consciousness wants you to experience, wants you to grow and evolve as that individuated expression of itself. God knows the truth of your being. That sea of consciousness knows exactly what you are. It is the thing that is manifesting you, enfolding you, supporting you, loving you, caring for you. You can't mess this up. You can't. That's the first thing that we've been trying to let go of. And, you know, a lot of it feels like we have messed it up. So on Monday, we started with dealing with all those things in our lives that we felt happened, that were bad. Those things that have, you know, leftover bad feelings in us. We're still holding on to it. And we saw how the I that exists at that particular event becomes locked within our being as this dissonant energy vibration. And that in our current moment, if a situation occurs which feels the same and looks very similar, that I from the past can literally subvert the current I. And we fall asleep for a short period of time, and there's an explosion. Sometimes it's a verbal argument. Sometimes it's tears. It doesn't matter. What matters is you've been taken by that energy, subsumed by it. And then you come out of that, and it's like, what happened? What just happened there? I don't usually do those sort of things. Look back, you'll find it. So the first thing we did is work on changing our perspectives. We work on changing our perspective, and we started with simple what-if statements. What if all these things that I've written down as bad experiences in my life were actually planned by me? What if God and I sat down at the table and we're having a great laugh over the journey I was planning for myself and looking at these things, and God was looking at me and saying, wow, you're brave. This is going to be a real trip. How does that change those things you judged as bad? Tuesday, we began integrating our sense of wholeness, our willingness to accept that those things that are happening to us do not define us. What defines us is our reactions, our thoughts, and perceptions we have in relation to the experience. And, you know, both Debbie and Kelly and so many other people here, and I believe Jennifer as well, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but I believe all of us, myself included, started out, deep inside of a religious faith. And, were affected by, or at least became aware of, the dysfunction within that. And that was a gift. The attendance of play school, which is what religion is. Religion's really the play school of the pathway to enlightenment. It's very valuable. It teaches you to commune with others. It teaches you the idea that we're all God's children. We're all one. It teaches you the idea that there's something beyond that, beyond us. Unfortunately, it also embeds a whole bunch of other human-based crap into you at the same time. A lot of that guilt and fear-driven programming is just like those individuated eyes. When we run into something that triggers it today, a reminder, all that stuff can pop back up. And we have to learn in the same way as we work towards integrating those different eyes, senses of eye, we need to view our experiences within religion for what they were. They were a path towards bringing us to something larger than that. Again. I don't know if you're aware of the magnificence of the journey that you are having in this life alone to move from religion to an openness and a spirituality that sees not a God of damnation and a God of hell and eternal torture for sinning against that God, knowing or unknowing, but an opening heart and an opening of your being, an evolution of your own universe to a higher plane. You've accomplished that in the space of your existence from the time you were born till now. And millions upon billions of people will remain locked in religion until the day they die. Think of the achievement. The sheer awesome growth you've already experienced. Debbie, this goes especially for you. You have come so far, girl. You have come. I know where you've come from. I see it in you. And it's okay. As I said to you, you are a beautiful gift, and you have a gift to give all of us. You have come so far from that oppressive, judgmental, separating environment to the place you are today. You have a deep compassion inside of you for what you do, a great passion. And because of that passion, the frustrations at the system you see and what's happening within that system threaten to drive you insane. This would never be happening if you were not that aware to recognize it. Don't beat yourself up. Kelly, same thing goes for Kelly. Same thing goes for all of us. You've come so far. You have traveled a magnificent journey and you're still alive. It isn't the end. You have a bunch of life in front of you yet. What excitement. If you've come this far this quick, what will the next 20 years hold? The next 30 years? It is time to let go of our sense of sin. Okay, and if you've come into the Catholic faith, especially, boy, let me tell you. Before the Reformation, which was when I was in the Catholic Church, okay, before the Catholic Reformation of, I believe it was 1976, let me tell you, there were about 1 million ways to get to hell and 10,000 classifications of sin. My voice would go hoarse with the Hail Marys and the Rosary. As when I had to do all my penance after reporting to the priest all of my wrongdoings. There was a lot of times I couldn't last 15 minutes outside of the confessional booth before I thought I needed to go back in it. That ridiculousness, the idea of sin being an offense to God, is a deep barb in our being. And this barb is deep in the being of almost every Westerner, whether they actually were part of religion or not, because it's been so pervasive in our culture. There is a genetic echo already there from the last 2,000 years. Sin, yeah, you know what, Debbie? I'm not encouraging you. I'm speaking the truth about who you are. This is not encouragement. You are all of this. Don't ever doubt it. You don't need encouragement. You just need to let yourself believe it. Because you're all that already. Look closely at your life. You have come so magnificently far. We all have. We truly are heroes of our own journey. We are the heroes of our story here. It's exciting. Sin simply means to stray from the path. And the Greek word for that, what it's actually talking about is straying from the most comfortable path. Every road leads to Rome, but some of those roads are very mucky, full of ruts, brambles, mists, darkness, scary trips through the forest. And some of those roads travel beside flower-filled meadows and bubbling brooks and fields filled with life. It is always our choice which road to take, and there are no bad roads. Some of the most amazing people in this world, some of those who express themselves and stand out because of it, have chosen what we would call the hard roads for years. The hard road also polishes that mirror of our being. This is the gift. This is the truth. Look me straight in the eye. There is not a thing you can do here that will not lead you to the higher truth of yourself. As I said to Kelly, the messages, the guidance, the communication from that divine sea of consciousness are 24/7, from the most mundane, the most depraved, right through to the most sacred and most holy that we would judge in our current levels of consciousness. Always speaking to us, always guiding. The only path you fall off of is a path that may be a little easier to walk through. Understand that taking the harder path, if you're on a harder path, it's because your being knows you can take this harder path. I hope that sinks right inside of you. I really do. You know, a lot of this is tied up in our false sense of self versus self. And at the risk of confusing myself, and I'm not sure what self I'm talking about right now, we have a higher self. And when we speak about that, you know, that's really an ephemeral sort of object to grip on. That higher self can be considered as a individuated part of that sea of consciousness. And it is breaking itself down into many, many individuated parts, which we would call individual ego consciousnesses, of which you are aware that you are one of them right now, of that higher self that you are. How do you keep the connection? How do you connect when the physical world tells you all the time that you're that small s? That connection is maintained first and foremost by repeatedly returning to yourself to see and experience the truth of your being. And I would say this. Engage in this what-if practice. The next time you're in a situation, before you let the small self react in the same usual manner, ask yourself this: what if I was this larger self? What if the manifestation of me and my concept of me right now has an opportunity to expand its consciousness through this interaction? Who is it I want to express that the new self of me is in this moment? And allow that expression to come out. You know, I could understand why your middle name would be Joy, Debbie. I said to Kelly after we had spoke, I said, you know what? Debbie has this sense of humor behind her eyes. The self that you truly are looks out through your eyes with such humor and amusement and joy. Laughter and joy. I mean, your higher self, you really do amuse your higher self, and your higher self loves it, and it's evident in your eyes. It comes right out. Kelly will tell you that. I kid you not. Right after we had talked. That's exactly what I said to Kelly. You know, it's wonderful to be able to see that in another. Look into your own eyes in the mirror, and you're going to see something's laughing. Not at you, but laughing with you. And that is your higher self. And your higher self is full of good humor and is very amused and very joyful at your existence. It's there. I saw it in your eyes all this distance away through messenger video. That sense of our higher self is available to us at any time. And it is not a crutch. It is not a something to go to when you, feel you need to ground yourself again. It is something that is you, that you are part of. You need to fall in love with yourself, the whole of yourself. Allow yourself to fall in love again. One of the hardest things about leaving religion is it appears that there's nothing left to fall in love with anymore. When you're a young child, you loved God. Or I'll speak about myself. I run the risk of making an assumption, and I really dislike assumptions, so I'm going to retract that. When I was a young boy, I loved God. When I was in the Catholic Church as a young altar boy, I loved God. I didn't really know who that guy on the cross was, but I loved the Zeus figure, the guy with the white beard, white robe, golden sash. A little later on, I loved Jesus. I still love God. I still love Jesus, but they're not men. How do you love the Creator today? You love the Creator by realizing the Creator is all around you and within you at all times. That every encounter is an encounter with the divine. Every person is God itself looking back upon itself and its creation through a unique and one-of-a-kind filter that you would call you. This is how we can still love God. It doesn't matter if you choose to love an image or a symbol. That's okay too. There's people who get upset because they think that that's actually what's happening, that you're loving the symbol, but you're not. The symbol is a representation. And it speaks so much more deeply than the words do. The beauty of a symbol is it transcends time and space. The symbol becomes representative of everything that everybody ever thought about that symbol. And therefore that symbol contains an immense power that you access by realizing the symbol is waking a knowing within your own being. Excuse me 1 second. So, for example, we have a statue of Buddha downstairs. It used to be outside for the winter he comes in. And I look upon that symbol, and I love that symbol as a representation of every being that has ever come here out of compassion and love to not only wake up itself, but to wake up the rest of humanity. Those enlightened teachers who step in whenever we get a little too carried away with ourselves and strive to show us lovingly how to get back on the path that runs beside the flowers and the babbling brook. Ours is a conscious evolution. Once you have woken, once that process has began, your evolution is no longer unconscious. Now, you can still choose to evolve unconsciously, and in some ways, it's probably true that you still will. But you have an opportunity now. You see, that sea of consciousness never meant for you to, blindly follow something. You have to remember, you worked this out. Allowing yourself to accept the responsibility of conscious evolution is as simple as saying, if I planned this entire journey out, and to date I have been unconsciously making my choices, and in all that time, I have evolved. What now do I choose to become through my conscious evolution? Take the reins off yourself. Take the limitations off yourself. And ask yourself what the next step of your own conscious evolution, your own creation, your own expression of you out into this world and this universe, what is it going to be? Allow it to be something that you love, something that stirs you inside, something that makes time disappear when you're doing it. These are the messages we receive every day. These are the guideposts that light even the darkest path, even the deepest, most pain-filled. There are signposts. There are lights to guide the way. Those lights come in the form of people like myself, people who have provided light for me, like Kelly, like each of you. I mean, in reality, we're all the light for someone, are we not? I'm sure if you look closely at your life, you'll find many, many, many times where consciously or unconsciously, you turned out to be someone else's light. This is the beauty, the magnificence, the perfection of this dance of our physical existence. We can't help but evolve. We cannot help but grow. We cannot help but reintegrate ourselves. Give up the wanting of it and instead fall in love with life again. Fall in love with yourself again. Fall in love with the divine again. All the rest has always worked itself out and always will. Really, that's about all I have for today. I wanted to touch base with everyone, and those of you who have chosen to join us for the first week of the October Challenge, congratulations. Week 1. How do you feel? Is it making an impact on your day? Are you following through with the exercises? Are you perhaps keeping a journal? Seeing how your thoughts and perceptions are beginning to shift. Keep in touch. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to talk about it at any time. And remember, this evening, we're back on the Facebook group for our evening meditation. I believe it's, check the schedule, I think it's 9:15. Namaste, Jennifer, and much love to you all. You know, we are so grateful and thankful for all of you. We truly are. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care. You too, Debbie. We'll see you tonight or tomorrow.